Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I have nothing to show you yet because I haven't made it. But, I mean there's a thumbnail that obviously I'm putting up on them. One I'm making today, which is the redo of my mermaid hat. That video was made a year ago, and there are some mistakes in the video that I didn't know were there. So I'm going to redo this video because it is quite difficult and I might change things up a little bit. So I'm going to measure my gauge. I had to build the hat a little bit before I could put it in the video. But I'm going to measure my gauge. I'm pretty loose when it comes to crochet. But throughout this video I'm going to be stopping at the different sizes that you're going to need for preemies, newborns, all the way up to adults and men. Well, men I'm not going to get to because I'm not building it that big, but it'll be a part of the chart that I bring into the video. And that obviously is based on the yarn you're using, the hook you're using with that yarn, and the amigurumi. Amigurumi is always a hook down in size than what the yarn calls for. And this is an amigurumi. And it also depends on your gauge. So, the gauge is measured generally by about 4 inches to see how many rows that you can do in 4 inches. So, this is my 4 inches from the top of this last row down. Looks like I could do about 6 rows of double crochets in 4 inches. And then across 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm about 15 double crochets per 4 inches. So I'm pretty loose. So if you measure your rows and you measure your stitches and they meet mine, then you crochet, your gauge is the same as mine. If they don't, and you're tighter, that's why I always encourage you to measure your work. Later on, you're going to see I'm going to measure and show you how to measure this for the size of the head mentioned in the chart. So this video is going to be for multiple sizes, and that's my gauge. So I'm pretty loosey-goosey, like I stated. So if yours measures the same as mine, then you're good to go. You can follow this video to a science. If you're tighter than me, then you're going to have to make sure that you're doing your proper measurements. And if you're even loosier than me, which I doubt, because I'm pretty loose, then again, you're just going to have to. I just encourage measuring. Whether you're the same as me or not, still measure. If your gauge works out to be exactly like mine, still please measure. Let's get back to the video. Let's get into the video. When you measure for your head, you have to measure from the nape of your neck around your forehead, because that's generally where a hat sits. I'm going to redo it with this stuff, though. This is 20% wool and 80% acrylic, so it's going to be waterproof and warm. So this is from a store called Hobby. It's like a Hobby Lobby, but Hobby Lobby isn't in Canada, so this is the closest we have that will ship to Canada, because Hobby Lobby doesn't even ship to Canada. So they just don't. So this is a store actually out of Denmark that ships to Canada. So this is what I use. It's exactly like a Hobby Lobby. Everything is exactly like it. So if Hobby Lobby happens to have this stuff, it's called Lollipop, and it's a really, really, really pretty mix. So that's what I'm going to use to make this hat. And hopefully this new video will be a lot easier to follow and understand. My old video, I didn't really explain things all that well. I don't feel so. This is why a lot of different reasons I decided to do a whole brand new video. So I'm using a 5mm. This stuff actually calls for a 6mm, but I don't really think it's necessary because it is just a regular 4-way. It's not worsted or anything, so I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. So we start with a single crochet, but then I go to a double crochet. The reason for the single crochet is the mermaid tails. I just kind of needed something a little more solid since the hat doesn't get stuffed. It's not a stuffed animal. I wanted something a little more girthier to sew my tails to. A lot of people were confused about that in the video. Even though I explained it, a lot of people were confused. So we start with singles, but then we move to double crochet. And then that's where things seem to go awry. So we're going to start with a magic ring. If you can't do a magic ring, do a chain 2 and put everything in the first stitch. It's exactly the same. So whatever yarn you're using, which may not be the same as mine, whatever hook it calls for, just kind of go down in size just so it's kind of a closer knit. So we're going to do 6 single crochets inside this ring. For the next 6 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches. So that's my 6 rows, and we're still sticking with the single crochet for this 1 more row, and then we go to doubles. So I want you to do 1 single crochet and an increase. That's 1 single crochet, so your next stitch gets an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So you're just going to do this 3 times around. And every row will be just 3 times around for the most part, pretty sure. So your next round after this will be 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then we're going to go to the doubles. I know I keep saying that, but it's actually real this time. So you should just have 9 stitches. Normally, in my last video, I would switch to, this is done in amigurumi, no chains, no slip stitching. At this point in my last video, I switched to where I started to build, and I did the backwards building to avoid the seam. More advanced people know what I'm talking about, I think. Where I put, you know, the double crochet in with the chain, and that's increased, so I do my increases kind of backwards and end off, and there's not supposed to be a seam. Anyway, we're not going to make this video as confusing. We're just going to continue to build in amigurumi, because at the end of the day, when I finish this with shell stitches, it's not going to make a difference. You're not even going to notice that it was built in a spiral, and it actually might make the hat look better, in my opinion. But that's because I'm an amigurumi girl. I love amigurumi. I love building in amigurumi. So we're not slip stitching. We're not doing anything. We're going to go directly into 2 double crochets and an increase. So I just want you to pull up on this loop a little bit before you make your double. So mark your first double. So 2 double crochets. and then your increase of 2 double crochets in the same space, and repeat. And you should end with 2 double crochets in the same space for a total of 12 stitches. So that's what the end of your tail looks like, and that's what we want it to look like. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be a mermaid tail. So here is where we sew on the fins. So this is exactly what it should look like. So your next round is going to be 1 double crochet in each stitch. And you should have 12 stitches. So again, just go straight into the stitch, amigurumi style. No slip stitching, no chaining. 1 double crochet in each stitch around. So the next round is going to be 3 double crochets and an increase. And this will bring you up to 15 stitches. So that's number 1 with your marker. That's 3 double crochets. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. And repeat. Uh-oh. So each round is going to be followed up by 1 double crochet in each stitch. So I'm just going to start putting that on my pause screen. So this next round is 1 double crochet in each of those 15 stitches. So your next round is going to be 4 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 18 stitches. And then you're going to follow that up with a 1 double crochet in each of those 18 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 4 double crochets. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. So your next round is going to be 5 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 21 stitches. That's number 1. That's 5 double crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 double crochets in the same space, and repeat. So your follow-up row will be 1 double crochet in each stitch for 21 stitches. So your next round is going to be 6 double crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 6 double crochets, and then your increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 7 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 27 stitches. Did I say double? I think I said double. 7 double crochets. I'm so used to saying single crochets, I may or may not slip up. But I'm not used to saying doubles. I don't usually work in doubles, especially with the amigurumi. So that's number 1. That's 7 double crochets, and then your next stitch will get the increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 8 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 30 stitches. I finally started changing colors. So your next round is going to be 9 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 33 stitches. And then you can follow it up with 1 double crochet in each of those 33 stitches. So that's number 1. That's 9 double crochets, and then your increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 10 double crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 36 stitches. So this is what you should have at this point. So we are PDF users. We're on round 28, starting round 28. We're on 11 double crochets and an increase. We are going to 19 double crochets and an increase, which will be round 44. So that's how much more time. But I mean, it goes so fast. So we'll be done before you know it. So I haven't changed the pattern. So the PDF is still, if you've got the free PDF, it's still exactly the same. It's just I'm not chaining and I'm not slip stitching and chaining. So it's really the only thing different with the pattern. So this next row is going to be 11 double crochets and an increase, followed up by your 1 double crochet in each stitch. This will give you 39 stitches. So your next round is going to be 12 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 42 stitches. That's number 1 with your marker always. So this is the chart that I use for my hats, and I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can read it better, but right now we're at preemie size, so depending on what you're making the hat, who you're making the hat for, and their head size. Right now we're at preemie size, which is the 42 stitches we just did. And I'll show you how you can easily measure it without trying to measure the circumference, opening the hat and all that. If you just measured across, it's 6 inches. So of course double that, right? And it's going to be 12 inches. A preemie hat is 12 to 13 inches in circumference. So that's how you know that you're getting close to preemie, newborn. So we're going down here to 21 to 22 inches. That's where we're going for ours. If you're making this for a man, you might want to go to large adult, which is 23 stitches, and we'll talk about that more later. So this chart will come up a few times depending on where we are for size. I'll let you know where we are for size so you know whether to stop or keep going. So we are on round 32, which is 13 double crochets and an increase. That's number 1. So your next round is going to be 14 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 48 stitches. From here, since we only have a few rows left, and I think you get the idea of what we're doing here, I'm going to put 2 rows, well, it's technically going to be 4. The next pause screen, you're going to see it say 14 double crochets, which is what we're on now, followed by your 1 double crochet in each stitch. Then it'll show you the next row, 15 double crochets and an increase, followed by the 1 double crochet in each stitch. So I'm going to put 4 rows, technically 2 increases and 4 rows up on my next pause screen, just to kind of speed the video along and make it a little bit shorter, and that way you can just kind of work away at it at your leisure. So this round here is going to be PDF users, round 34, 14 double crochets and an increase. So that's number 1 with your marker. So you should have about 51 stitches. We've just finished 15 double crochet increase plus our 1 double crochet in each stitch round. So we just finished round 37 for PDF users. We should be about 3 to 6 months range. So as far as the crown width and the crown height, it doesn't really apply in a mermaid hat because it's supposed to be long and draped down the back, so it doesn't really apply. So we're reading this last column here, which is 14 to 15 inches, so we don't have to wrap this all the way around. The easy way to do it is to measure just straight across and then double it. So I'm at 7.5, so we're right in this 3 to 6 month range. But again, I encourage the measuring because your gauge could be very different from mine. Let's continue. Your next round is going to be 16 double crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 54 stitches, followed up by a 1 double crochet in each stitch round. And then you're going to do 17 double crochets and an increase, which will give you 57 stitches, and that will be followed up by a 1 double crochet in each stitch round. So that'll be all on my pause screens. And I don't think I really need to show you anymore. So I will just see you on the other side. So I have 57 stitches. I just finished my 17 double crochet increase and then a row of 1 double crochet in each stitch. My hat is now 8.5. So I'm around 17, 18. I'm about toddler age, 18 to 19 inches, or 12 to 24 months is 18 inches is at the top. I'm at 18.5 inches, so I'm into the toddler range now. So just two more, well, 3 more rows technically to go. Your next round is going to be 18 double crochets and an increase. This brings you up to 60 stitches. And then I want you to do 1 double crochet in each of those 60 stitches. And then your next row after that will be 19 double crochets and an increase, and that'll bring you up to 63 stitches. You're going to have to measure in there because you may not need to do the 19 double crochets. So I'm going to meet you back. We don't have to do all that. So I'm going to meet you back. We'll do the 18 double crochets and an increase, and then the 1 double crochet in each stitch for 60. Then I'll meet you back here and we'll measure to see if you even need to do the last row. So that's the plan, Stan. So this row is 18 double crochets and an increase. So this is my 1 double crochet in each of my 60 stitches. So we measure it. Some of you may not have to go any bigger than this. We should be at child size. We should be at 19 to 21 inches, which is really close to a small adult head. A standard adult head is 22 inches. My granddaughter has a bit bigger head than a standard, so I initially made this for her, so I had to do it larger. But so this is about 9.5-ish. It's kind of in between. So that's what, 19 inches. So anyway, 1 more row if you need to do it. I need to do it for mine because it's not going to fit my head. I need to do the last row for me. I'm actually making a hat for myself. I've never made a hat for myself. This is the first time having to redo this video. I get to make a hat for myself. So your last round is going to be, if it's your last round, if you need to make it bigger, then you make it bigger. My last round is going to be 19 double crochets and an increase. And I'm not following that up this time with a 1 double crochet in each stitch. We're going to measure it, and if you feel that you need it bigger, I will direct you at that time. So I will see you on the other side of 19 double crochets and an increase. So I am done my 19 double crochets and an increase. So let's do our final measurements. About 10.5 inches. So that is 22 inches. 22 inches puts me at a medium adult size. So it all depends, again, like I said, it all depends on your gauge. So if you have to keep going, your next round will be 20 double crochets and an increase. Follow it up with a 1 double crochet in each stitch. just because it elongates it, right? So we need it to be long, like a mermaid tail. So we're going to start with the shell stitch to finish this head off, because it's kind of like the piece de resistance. So we're going to start by doing a 1 single crochet. So kind of make it elongated, because you don't want to, like when you go into your stitch, kind of pull up to kind of make it even with that. Eventually you won't have to worry about it. So that's 1 single crochet. Stick my thing in there. So 1 single crochet with our marker. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches. Let me bring it back down here. So skip 2, and then in this next stitch you're going to put 5 double crochets, all in the same space. That's a shell stitch. 5 double crochets in the same space. You're going to skip 2, so 1 and 2, and you're going to put a 1 single crochet, kind of pull it up a bit, elongate it a little bit, and then you're going to repeat that. And you're going to repeat that for 5 rows, but I will stick with you to show you how to do the second row. So skip 2, and in this next third stitch you're going to put 5 double crochets. Skip 2, 1 single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. So that's what you're doing right now. Just keep going. Skip 2, 1 single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. Skip 2, 1 single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. Skip 2, 1 single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. Skip 2, 1 single crochet. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. So skip 2, 1 single crochet. So skip 2 and normally something, but we have our marker here. This is where we started. So we're gonna kind of not do the same thing. We're gonna kind of not do the same thing. We're gonna kind of do the same thing. So we're gonna skip 2. And then in this space, so we did our 1 single crochet, we're going to skip 2, and then in this space we're going to do 5 crochets. This is our marker space. So that's my marker space. I don't know how to mark this other than my first stitch that I made in that space. So now when you do your 1 single crochet, so you're still skipping 2, so you're skipping these 2 stitches, and now your 1 single crochet is now kind of in the middle of that shell stitch. And you don't have to elongate it anymore. So then you skip 2 again, and then in this space you do, which is going to end up being in the middle of the 2 shells. Okay, this is where some confusion lies. So this is a shell stitch. I got my 1 single crochet in there at the top, in the middle of that shell stitch. This is the in-between spaces between the shells. That's where we're working in this round, and then our 1 single crochet goes into the middle of the shells, but it's still the same pattern, which is 1 single crochet. I wasn't even on camera. 1 single crochet, skip 2, 5 doubles, skip 2. It's still the exact same pattern. So that's my 1 single crochet. I'm going to skip 2. So in this space, I'm going to put my 5 doubles, which just happens to be in between the shell stitches from the row before. And now I'm going to skip 2, so 1 and 2. So this is my shell from the row before. When I skip 2 stitches, my 1 single crochet is right in the center stitch of the shell before. Skip 2, 5 double crochets will just end up being in the middle of the 2 shell stitches. So the pattern never changes from row to row. So skip 2, 1 single crochet, and that's in the middle of my shell from the row before. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. Skip 2, my 1 single crochet goes into the middle of my shell stitch from the row before. So you're going to do this for 5 rows, and it should never change. In the next row you should be doing your shell stitches in between your 2 shells from the row before, and your 1 single crochet should be in the middle of a shell stitch. So it should stay the same throughout. So we're on row 2, so just continue. Skip 2, 5 double crochets. So I'm right back around to where I started from. I'm going to skip 2, and right in here I'm going to do my 5 double crochets for my shell stitch. So I'm just going to leave that in there, and then I'm still going to skip 2 and go. So now I'm starting row 3, I'm skipping 2, and I'm still ending up in that 1 single crochet, or the middle of that shell for my 1 single crochet. So it never changes. You can go around as many times as you want, and the pattern will still remain the same. So I'm coming up on the end of my hat. This is my 5th row. I'm super happy that I ended with this blue, actually, because, and you can see now between the blue and the purple what it actually looks like. It was hard to see when it's just kind of all purple. So I'm happy to be ending on this blue. So I'm going to do one more shell stitch, and then one more single crochet, three, 4, 5. So I'm going to do a single crochet, and then down here I'm just going to kind of fasten off. So I'll show you how to make that look a little bit better. So fasten off if you're done. Take this out. We still got to make the mermaid tails, but or the fins to sew on, but I just wanted to kind of show you how to make this. So it's not that bad because we did this in amigurumi. You've got a little bit of a dip because we work in a spiral. So I want you to just go up through this stitch here, and then come down and find the front loop of that stitch there, and then just kind of pull. I wanted to end in the dip so that it wasn't, oh sorry, oh gosh, I wanted to end in the dip so it wasn't that noticeable. So it just looks like dip, dip, dip. You can't really tell that we did this in amigurumi. So there are certainly ways to get around hiding the amigurumi style without it being all wonky. So you just gotta weave. There we go. So now you can't even tell. That's where I fastened off. But because we did the shell stitches, it's not noticeable that that's where I did it. So next we're going to do the fins for the end of the tail, and then this hat will be all done. The only thing is about when this yarn switch colors, it's very noticeable when you don't do it with a seam. But anyway, let's move on to making the fins. So your bottom fins are going to be done with a 4mm G-hook, and they're pretty quick and easy. So I want you to chain 20. And then I want you to do 19 single crochets back up. That's my 19 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. And now I want you to do 17 single crochets. So that's my 17th stitch. You should have 2 extra stitches. You're going to have the stitch here and then the turning over stitch. And we're not getting it, that's not what we're working into. We're just going to leave that hanging. Chain 1, turn your work, and do 17 single crochets back up. So now I want you to do 15 single crochets. So you're going to leave 2 unworked at the end. So I'm leaving these last 2 unworked. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and do 15 single crochets back up. Chain 1, turn your work. This row is going to be 13 single crochets because you're going to leave 2 unworked. Chain 1, turn your work, and do 13 single crochets back up. Chain 1, turn your work. This last round's a little bit different. You're going to do 12. So we're only dropping 1 stitch in this last round. 12 single crochets. That's my 12 single crochets, so now only 1 is left unworked. Chain 1, turn your work, and do 12 single crochets back up. And you can fasten off. So you need a sewing tail and a weaving tail. So we're going to weave along this edge here. So it already wants to start to roll, but so far that's your tail. So you can take your needle . So I just want you to go in and out, weaving across. The top. And pull. And tie your... You pull tight, you can tie these two together. That's your fin. So one goes one way, and then this can get popped over, and then the other one goes the other way. So they're built the exact same way. You just kind of pop it around and pop it around. So I'll put the pattern on the screen. Go ahead and make your second piece, and I'll meet you right back here to get them sewn on. So I am all done my tail. Both mine turned out to be blue, which is awesome because the only blue really is this last bunch of shell stitches. So down here where I use single crochets, this is what we're sewing into, which is why I wanted to use that stitch. So you can sew these on. Forget my other one here. You can sew these on the same. You just need to pop this around and they get sewn on like this. Let me come out a bit. So these do curl. They will curl. I don't mind the curl, but if you don't like the curl, you can do two things. You can use starch to soak it in so that it never ever curls, or water and glue together is the same thing as starch. It'll stop it from curling, and it's equal parts. So if you use 2 tablespoons of water, use 2 tablespoons of glue to do that. So you can sew yours on any way that you like. I tried to stay in this whole area even though my part is gathered, but the whole purpose of the single crochet in this section was so that I had something kind of substantial. So if you wanted to stuff this bottom part to kind of help with that, you can. I don't think anyone would notice. I think it would be difficult at this point, but you can do whatever you want. It's your hat. And then this is what I did with this one, is I sewed the two together using some of the tail. I probably did it differently in my other video. Either way, I still suck at sewing, so you can... I just think it would make these parts that stick up not stick up by doing this whip stitch across, so it just looks like it's kind of a flatter piece. So the other hats I made that I gave to my grandkids and one to my mother, I never did anything with the curling of the tails because I actually like it, so I wasn't super worried about it. But that's me. If you don't like it, like I said, there's multiple things you can do with starch and with equal parts water and glue to stop that from happening. Because as you can see, it's already happening. So that's the mermaid hat. I can't really fit it all in, but there'll be a thumbnail anyway. Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the new video. I hope it's certainly a lot easier to follow, and it certainly has a lot more information in it than my first video, which again is still, my first video is still going to be up. I'm not taking it down. The yarn I used in my first video, if you've seen it and you prefer that yarn over this yarn, it is a polo stripe, a Red Heart Super Saver collection stripes, and it's just polo stripe. That's all it's called. So it is certainly, I'll show you. So this is the yarn I used in my first video, which is still going to be on my channel, and this is a Red Heart Super Saver, and it's from the stripes collection, And this color is just polo stripe. I don't have the tag, but this color is just, I don't think I do. No. This color is just polo stripes. That's what I wrote in my computer when I designed the pattern. So this turned out really well as far as the color changes. They're a lot shorter. This here has got wool in it, but I found that the color changes were super duper long. As you can tell, they're really long color changes, whereas the Red Heart polo stripes is not. They're perfect actually for the hat. I should have used this again, but I wanted the wool because I want to use my hat. Because I actually have a hat now, because I redid the video and I made myself a hat. And I just want to use it in the winter time on my head. And that's why I chose to use the wool. So this acrylic is good for fall. It'll keep your head warm, and water doesn't tend to soak into acrylic very well. So it'll keep your head dry for the fall season. So anyway, enough blabbering. I will see you guys in the next video.